We all know the Onyx Books Note 2 and other devices like this, like the Elita, the Remarkable, the Sony DPT CP1, the Super Note A5. They're all 10.3-inch note-taking devices. But what's this? This is the Pocketbook Inkpad X. And when this came out, it is a 10.3-inch device. It does have a Scribble App on it. It does support at least a capacitive stylus. Why is it this big? Why is it this size? And why is it so similar to note-taking devices, but it doesn't do the same thing? Today we're going to find out. The Inkpad X is a very large device. It has a lot of screen real estate. It actually has a smaller body than a lot of devices, and it has some nice styling cues. It has a lot of characteristics of a note-taking device, but it isn't. You see the home screen here on both of these are drastically different. This has kind of a carousel thing going on, whereas Onyx relies on a tabbed system where the middle of the screen remains the same, and the side and top bars respectively do not move or change. Essentially, the Pocketbook isn't really like a note-taking device. It's more similar to these regular e-readers like Kindles and Touch Luxe 4s by their own brand Pocketbook. The fact that it has the same screen size as of a note-taking device is really just a bonus, because when you're reading your books, look how much screen real estate you have to comfortably read, which is basically the only thing you'd ever really want to do on this device, because it doesn't really do a whole lot else. It doesn't have apps like the Onyx, because this is running Android. This just straight up isn't. But you can see when it comes to reading, it displays the same amount of text as any Android octa-core or quad-core device would. It has all the same amount of settings as they would too. They have font size, hyphenations, you have margins, you have regular italicized bold, and a bunch of fonts itself. You actually have quite a bit. That is honestly nothing compared to the Onyx, because they have probably the most font styles we've ever seen. In fact, they have a whopping 232 different fonts, and I think two Chinese fonts. Yeah, so they do have quite a bit. But they both do as much text augmentation as you'd want it to, displaying pages, status bar, you have spacing style, and they both do long presses as well. So you can long press on words and it will bring up different things like scribble, dictionary definitions, send, search to Google, search on web, read out loud, all that kind of stuff that both devices do in their own different ways. This is honestly to give you a real-life taste of what it will look like dealing with these devices on a daily basis. If speed is a concern, I would recommend maybe not getting the Pocketbook. It is a little bit slower. It's great for reading, and it displays a lot, and it's actually cheaper than a lot of note-taking devices that are Android, but it is a little bit slower in just about everything it does. Yes, we made some test notes on there. Just kind of whiz past that. We'll do some pinching and zooming to show you here. That pinching and zooming on the Onyx is pretty rapid, and this is the normal mode, and I'll show you that in a second. Pinch and zooming on the Pocketbook is a little bit more clunky, and it takes a while for the mini-map to even show up. You'll see there that it took about 3 seconds for it to even register that it wanted to show you where you are on the page. And after that, it does take a long time to render, and it flashes repeatedly to finally get back to where it needs to be. You do have long press, which is nice because a lot of devices don't do that outside of, an Amazon Kindle on a PDF actually is one of the few devices in the lineup that does that. You do have the ability to do that on Onyx as well, and that's because they have refined their firmware tons of times. Onyx, they're always trying to keep it fresh and keep it up to date, so they've added new things over the years. You get the same settings as you would in the ebook experience, and you can actually scribble on the screen on the on the Pocketbook, and this is where it gets into note-taking territory that we are both thrilled to see and not really comfortable with, and we will get more into that in the note-taking segment, which is coming up next. But I wanted to show you guys that when I said normal mode, Onyx has done something since the Max 3. They've actually incorporated 4 modes. Normal, speed, A2, the one we all know and love, the one that makes the screen quality lower to make the speed higher. They've actually gone a step further into X mode, which is essentially God mode. This thing just makes everything super snappy, super quick, but you can see the quality of the page is significantly decreased. But the refresh rate is mental. That is like 2013 smartphone speeds. And I don't want to say, 2019 flagship smartphone speeds, because it isn't. It is still running e-ink, but it is dang quick for e-ink. Seriously, that is very fast. And if you want to see more on X mode, you can look at our YouTube channel. We have different modes, videos on there, so you can kind of see what each one of them do. Again, the Pocketbook is not running Android. It is not running a Wacom stylus layer, so it will interact with any sort of stylus. The Onyx is, however, but they do have this Scribble app, and we have seen this Scribble app time and time again on their Touch Luxes and all their other devices, and there's a reason they have it. It's because if you need to scribble something, if you need to take notes, it is there. You don't have to use it, and it's not the greatest experience, but they do have it, and that's very nice. They have 2 different font thicknesses. Obviously, because it's running capacitive, they don't really have a lot of capabilities to have pressure sensitivity, and you can see as you draw the line to speed things up for the user, you guys, they actually break up the line. You can see there, they break it up, these styluses, they're hit or miss, they break it up into little chunks, and then once it's finished, once you've done your line, it renders it. So they do that so that there's a little less lag. So it's not terrible. Wow, this one is, though. This one we found in the storage room, it's not very good. It's very sticky. They shouldn't be sticky. That's the purpose. So it does have some things like erase. Obviously, you can't flip it around and erase it. They do have some stuff where you can actually write on the screen using text and change what you've written with all the same kind of font styles that you have seen in the e-reading, the e-reading segment. They allow you to do that. They allow you to isolate text. They allow you to make mistakes and redo them, undo them. You can make new pages, delete page, and that is the extent of the note-taking experience. We won't go full blast note-taking experience into the Onyx because it is probably the most in-depth and extensive note-taking experience on any device we've seen. There are so many options and so many different things you can do, from shapes to lasso tools. You can flip the stylus around and erase things. And it gets even more complicated if you turn things into X mode, because then it just straight up feels like you're writing on a piece of paper. There's no latency. So if you want to see more on the Onyx, you can check that out on our YouTube video. Peter, Onyx. Look, I can't even write fast enough. It's registering faster than I can write. This thing is pretty quick. You have all your AI, you have your text, you have your lasso, eraser, grids, disable touch panel, even though with 5 points on the screen there's still no delay. So this is to give you an idea of the capabilities of an actual note-taking device and one that has a note-taking application on an e-reader. If you want something that is running Android and you want something that can take notes and install Facebook and Instagram and all that, and has a dedicated Wacom layer and capacitive layer, full multimedia experience, you want something that is an Android or Linux-based note-taking e-reader. The Pocketbook is simply a large e-reader. The Onyx is representing 10.3-inch and bigger note-taking devices. I hope this clears up the air as to where the Inkpad X fits in this world. For GoodyReader.com, this is Peter.